I'm going to move into a recognition for President Carter. He passed away on December 29th, 2024, and we have a special proclamation to honor the longest living president. He lived to 100 years, and he also served as the 39th president. In addition to all the work he has done globally and domestically, he had many achievements. He is well known as a humanitarian and a peacemaker. He's the author of 32 books, and he also designed a comprehensive energy program with the then new Department of Energy. So he has done so much for our country, and we are a better world because he was in it. I also wanted to note that he received the Norwegian Nobel Committee awarded him the Nobel Peace Prize for 2022 for decades of untiring efforts to find peaceful solutions to international conflicts, to advance democracy and human rights, and to promote economic and social development. The Carter family also was very involved in supporting our annual Peace Day and to work with Mattie Stepanek, who was a Rockville resident, and really helping to jumpstart the Mattie Stepanek Foundation, along with Dr. Jeni Stepanek. I also wanted to note that he was very instrumental in supporting affordable housing through the Carter Foundation that he started. He supported the Habitat for Humanity, building affordable homes, and he created what was an annual Carter Work Project and volunteering with Habitat for Humanity annually. Through the years, they have organized thousands of volunteers, supported hands-on construction, and served as tireless advocates. And with that, I will read the proclamation. Whereas President James Earl Carter Jr., the 39th President of the United States, passed away on December 29, 2024. And whereas President Joseph R. Biden declared January 9th, 2025 as a National Day of Mourning for President James Earl Carter Jr. And whereas President Carter's career in public service began as a cadet in the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland in 1943, later serving in both the Atlantic and Pacific fleets, and becoming a decorated lieutenant, being selected to join the elite nuclear submarine program. And whereas President Carter, upon the death of his father, moved from active duty to the Navy Reserve to return to Plains, Georgia, to help run his family's peanut farm. And whereas President Carter's deep faith and penchant for public service moved him to become a community leader and eventually being selected as state senator and becoming the 76th governor of the state of Georgia and then becoming the president of the United States. And whereas President Carter became friends with Rockville's own Mattie J.T. Stepanek, and they wrote a book together on the importance of peace. President Carter called Mattie the most extraordinary person I have ever met. Whereas President Carter distinguished himself by dedicating his life after his presidency, building homes around the world with Habitat for Humanity, focusing on peace. Now, therefore, on behalf of the entire mayor and council and the residents of the city of Rockville, we express our sincere appreciation and gratitude for President James Earl Carter's life for public service, an inspiring commitment to peace, work, and to end homelessness, to support human rights, and his unwavering support for freedom and democracy for all people. We also thank his family. Will someone please move the proclamation? Does someone make a motion to move the proclamation?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I make a motion to move the proclamation.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Councilmember Larry. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Thank you very, very much. And it is such an honor to welcome Dr. Stepanek, who has been very close contact with the Carter family and unfortunately recently worked together to honor the life of his wife as well, First Lady Carter. So thank you for coming back again to help us honor and celebrate the life of President Carter.
Thank you. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you. I'm Dr. Jeni Stepanek. I'm the president of the Mattie Stepanek Peace Foundation. And I really want to thank the council for pausing to acknowledge this amazing human. and for allowing me to share a few words about my dear friend, Jimmy Carter. President Carter began mentoring my son, Mattie, about a quarter of a century ago. And for several years, they shared love for each other. They collaborated to cultivate peace for individuals, communities, our world. They, as you mentioned, collaborated on an award-winning best-selling book, Just Peace, a Message of Hope. Mind you, they also enjoyed sharing laughter and collaborated on quite a few good practical jokes. In 2004, when Jimmy offered the eulogy at Mattie's funeral, and in many presentations since, he's often talked about how he has met kings and queens and presidents and prime ministers and great people like Mother Teresa and the Dalai Lama. But he says each time when he's talking about Mattie, the most extraordinary person that he's ever known in his life is my son. Well, as Mattie's mom, I'm not going to disagree with that. Mattie was and is a remarkable source of inspiration, even a generation later. And I have not met kings and queens, as President Carter has, but I have met many, many people, many amazing people, celebrities, leaders, citizens, global children. And I would have to say, I simply could echo back Jimmy Carter's words about my son to him. Jimmy Carter is an extraordinary person. I would say that when we all hear the name Jimmy Carter, regardless of our political persuasion, the universal assessment, the kind of that summation response when somebody says, oh, Jimmy Carter, and we think about his being, we think of words like faith, compassion, kindness, caring, acceptance, forgiveness, patience, perseverance, humility, hope, peace, and authenticity, more and more virtuous truths. And indeed, Jimmy Carter was a most extraordinary human being. And like Mattie, he was an authentic person. And I feel so blessed to have known him. I will always be grateful that I had the privilege of working with him to cultivate peace projects. I had the privilege of being his neighbor in Georgia for a couple of years, and of truly sharing a mutual friendship with this remarkable man. In closing, I'd like to thank again the city of Rockville for publicly paying tribute to this humble peacemaker, as Mattie would say, and for remembering his friendship and connection with my son, Mattie. I also have a very brief ask, a request for anybody that is listening now or might watch this video in a recording later. I want people to pause. I want you to think of Jimmy Carter. And I want you to think about what it is that you admire most about him. Perhaps it's his faith or his love or his compassion or his humility or perseverance. Whatever it is that makes you go, wow, what a way to be known. What a way to be remembered. I want you to embrace that characteristic for 21 days. About 21 days is how long it takes to cultivate change, to create a new habit. I'm not asking anybody to be Jimmy Carter. I'm just asking you to be whatever it is that matters about this great man so that you become a part of his living legacy. Because in doing so, you will become a part of helping to shift, as he did, and change our world for good. Thank you very much.
Well said. Thank you so much, Dr. Stepanek. And if we would just pause for a moment of silence before the next proclamation. Thank you all. All right, I know we have Lunar New Year to celebrate as well.
Thank you. I have the honor to address the proclamation declaring the Lunar New Year 2025 in Rockville. And I'd like to note for listening public and those who are listening after the recording of the two important events that are coming up. On February 1st, 2025 is Rockville's celebration of the Lunar New Year. On February 15th, the Rockville Sister Cities Corporation has the Lantern Festival. I hope you can join. Whereas Rockville is a home to a diverse Asian community that adds to the richness and culture of our great city. And whereas the Lunar New Year and the Lantern Festival are special holidays for family reunions, Thanksgivings, and well-wishing, and are two of the most significant celebrations for Asian communities around the world and here in Rockville. And whereas the city of Rockville is committed to recognizing Asian culture as an important part of the city and its strong, inclusive community. And whereas this is the year of the snake, one of the zodiac animals, and represents people who are associated with traits of wisdom, mystery, introspection, and elegance in Chinese culture. Those born in a snake year are thought to possess qualities of patience, insight, and keen intuition. Now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of Rockville, Maryland, do hereby proclaim February 1st, 2025 as Rockville's celebration of the Lunar New Year, culminating with the Lantern Festival on February 15th, 2025, and call upon all residents of Rockville to join in this joyous celebration. Madam Mayor, I move the proclamation.
Thank you. It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Excellent. Thank you. And I believe we have John Lynn, Chair of the Rockville Asian Pacific American Task Force. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and the Mayor Council. And I truly appreciate the support from the city and the Mayor Council for many, many years. And I'd like to say two things out of my heart. One is I've been in this country 48 years, and I've seen the growth of the Asian communities in the city of Rockville. And recently I traveled in Los Angeles, and when people talk about Washington, D.C. area, they think about Rockville, because this is how people know that this is the concentration of the Asian population, and Asian is the driving force, one of the driving forces of the economy in this area. And I truly appreciate the support from the city, and I'm so happy to chair this Asian Pacific American Task Force and make all the communities work together to support Rockville as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please go out and celebrate Lunar New Year.
Yes.
Next, we have a proclamation declaring January 20th, 2025 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Welcome, Councilmember Shaw.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm honored to read the Dr. Martin Luther King Proclamation, the first city's proclamation, and I'm very thankful to my colleagues in supporting me in adding this to our annual list of proclamations. Whereas on November 2nd, 1983, a bill was signed into law making the third Monday in January a federal holiday to honor and commemorate the incredible life and legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King dedicated his life to peaceful, nonviolent social change, the struggle for equality of all people. And whereas Dr. Martin Luther King became an activist by organizing and leading the Montgomery bus boycott, which lasted 382 days. Whereas we can all learn from Dr. King's words, quote, "Make a career of humanity, commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal rights. You will make a better person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in." Now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of the City of Rockville, Maryland, do hereby proclaim January 20th, 2025 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Rockville, Maryland, and call upon the residents of Rockville to observe this day by helping our families, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and leaders to better understand the value of providing grace, peace, dignity, tolerance, and respect to everyone equally. I move the proclamation.
Thank you. It's been moved. Do we have a second? Councilmember Fulton seconds. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Wonderful. Thank you all. And I believe we have, go ahead.
And I would like to turn it over to Dr. Coleman and Ms. Branson to accept the proclamation.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Carolyn Coleman, and I am first vice president of the local branch of NAACP. On behalf of the organization, I am honored to accept this proclamation. My gray hair lets you know that I am a child of the civil rights movement. In fact, my father and Dr. King studied together at Boston University. In many ways, the walls that Dr. King knocked down were very strong walls. Those walls have allowed others to walk through doors. In the interim, however, we keep saying things such as our younger generation is not really steeped in knowing the history. But we are the leaders that we are looking for. And we must remember that our children learn from our actions. Dr. King was an activist, and in being so, he advocated for justice for everybody, not just for people of color. As the NAACP accepts this award, we challenge everyone to make the day truly a day of service, a day on, not a day off. As we let our youth know what happens when a democracy is not fought for, when we don't respect justice for all, when we don't reach out to our brothers and embrace them, we are also letting them know that they have a responsibility. As we address the activities that are negatively affecting people in the democracy, as we assume the responsibility, it is not lost on us that this proclamation is coming from the city of Rockville, where the NAACP in Montgomery County was started because of discrimination within the public school system. We are celebrating our 50th anniversary, and yet the struggle continues. We invite you to not only honor yourselves as being the cornerstone for the county, for the NAACP, but also for being the activists that have fought and continue to fight for justice throughout the county, not just being selfish within your own city. And as we want to see our democracy be strengthened, especially in these times, we also want to see the quality of life for all citizens be equal. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Carolyn Coleman and Sherry Branson, and thank you for all the work of the NAACP, especially the Montgomery chapter. We appreciate you being here with us to honor Dr. King. I will also just, again, put a plug for some of the activities we have to, as Dr. Coleman said, not just take a day off, but do the work. So January 14th, 16th, 20th, we have specific volunteer activities that people can get involved in, and there'll be a signature event on January 19th from 11 to 1. Please check out Rockville MD to find out more details. Thank you so much. Okay. So we are going to be moving over to more appreciation. We have many boards, commissions, and task forces in the city of Rockville, and they would just be in name if we didn't have volunteers who stepped up to serve. And so today we're going to be honoring several of our volunteers who have completed their service. So as many of you are aware, we have about 32 boards, commissions, committees, task forces, and city-supported nonprofit organizations. And we are very grateful for everyone who selflessly gives of their time to be able to contribute to the betterment of Rockville residents in our city. We'd like to begin by recognizing two groups whose members have concluded their tasks and have since sunset their time: the Charter Review Commission and the Boards and Commission Task Force, followed by the Boards, Commissions, Committees, and Task Force members whose terms have expired in 2024. Certificates will be mailed out by the end of the week, hopefully, as we can all get back to mail service, and participants who are unable to be here will also be able to get those certificates to them. I'm going to pull up our list here, so just please give me a brief moment as I move through the screens here. All right, so I'm going to start off with the Charter Review Commission, and then my colleagues are going to help to honor and recognize other members who have been volunteers. The first is the Charter Review Commission. We thank Anita Powell, Dave Gottesman, Harold Hodges, Zola Shaw, Jack Kelly, John Becker, Kevin Owen, Marissa Valeri, Robert Kernick as an ex officio member, Robert Wright, and Sally Cram. Thank you for your service. I now turn over to Councilmember Fulton.
Thank you. I'm going to honor the members of the Boards and Commissions Task Force. Those are Anita Powell, Ann Goodman, Ann Herbster, Jack Kelly, James Hedrick, John Becker, Lorraine Tarnoff, Michael Benjamin Perry, and Steve Van Grack. Thank you so much for your service on the Boards and Commissions Task Force. I think I'm also going to mention one of our volunteers on the Board of Appeals. I want to express our appreciation for the service of Nicholas Kuchak. Thank you so much. Passing it on to Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. So I have the honor of thanking the Community Policing Advisory Board. So Donna Barnes, Lori Harkin, Michael Scott, Mike Donahue, Ricky Rutkoff, and on the Compensation Committee, Commission, Kavita Dawson and Paul Newman. And finally, honoring the Cultural Arts Commission members, Mimbawa Malemi, I'm murdering, Patricia Duroff, Spencer Noel, and Therese Kapal. And now, Councilman Miles.
Thank you, Councilmember Jackson. From the Education Commission, we have Ariel Mendez. From the Environment Commission, Susan Coaster. From the Ethics Commission, Beverly Clark, Kevin Jenkins. And from the Financial Advisory Board, we have David Mack, Gary Corral, and Ken McRitchie. I'll pass it over to my colleague, Councilmember Shaw, for the Human Rights Commission.
Thank you, Dr. Miles. From the Human Rights Commission, Amina Shafi Rogers, Amy Frieder, Andrew Caddy, Andrew Lynn, Molly Cullen, Peyton Hawkins, Sinan Wolf Gazo, and from the Human Services Advisory Commission, Camille Pansini Kroll, Lee White, Tal Shahar, Wesley Hecken. And I will pass it on to Councilmember Valeri.
Thank you. I'd like to thank from the Landlord Tenant Affairs Commission, Ayodeji Rotimi, Danielle Monroe, Michael Kluk, and Stuart Graff. From the Planning Commission, posthumously honoring Sam Pearson. From the Recreation and Park Advisory Board, Kathleen Linehan. From Rockville Housing Enterprises, James Hedrick and Stephen Marr. And from the Senior Citizens Commission, Lori Newman. And I will pass it along to Councilmember Van Gogh.
Thank you. From the Transportation and Mobility Commission, I'd like to honor Douglas Ayerly, Emily Peterman, Sogan Carbalalia. From the Youth Commission, Amy Acosta, Carolyn Ash Dunham, Elizabeth Mueller, Emily Liu, Catherine Stouterman, Madeline Anders, Max Pankowski, and Nico Durialza. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you to all our volunteers. I will also note that we will have a volunteer reception in the spring that will be announced hopefully in the coming months to support and appreciate our current volunteers and boards and commission members. Thank you very much to all who volunteer.